We discussed this recently, but the PlayStation 5 is coming sooner than expected. At the beginning of this current generation, many thought that we would not see a PlayStation 5 and whatever Microsoft is planning next for the Xbox until around 2021 or 2022. Console generations have typically always been around 6 to 7 years, something that many forget. There was a 6-year gap in between the PlayStation and the PlayStation 2, with another 6 years before the PlayStation 3's release in 2006, and then about 7 years later in 2013, the PlayStation 4 came about. So the PlayStation 5 arriving in 2019 or 2020 makes the most sense, but a recent report is claiming a 2018 release is not out of the question. Semiaccurate.com, which has accurately leaked console details in the past, is the source of this PlayStation 5 news. This website is known for predicting that Nintendo would be partnering with Nvidia for the Nintendo Switch, and they also accurately reported on some of the specs of the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 back in 2011 and 2012 respectively. But as pointed out by Jason Schreier of Kotaku, they have been wrong. In 2012, they reported that the codename for the PlayStation 4 was Thebes, and that the Xbox One was Kryptos, when it was actually Durango for the Xbox One, and the PlayStation 4 was Orbis. So I guess you could say the website is semi-accurate. But anyway, to their alleged PlayStation 5 details, some of the highlights outlined in the article is that Sony will upgrade the Jaguar CPUs found in the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4 Pro in favor of a more powerful Zen-based CPU for the PlayStation 5, previously reported as being an 8-core variety. For the graphics, the console is said to use a custom GPU based on AMD's upcoming Navi architecture. Additionally, the PlayStation 5 is also said to come with VR features implemented at the silicone level, suggesting that Sony still believes in PlayStation VR, which recently received a permanent price decrease and is said to be a disappointment. And finally, the author of this article, Charlie Demerjen, suggests a 2018 release of the PlayStation 5 is not out of the question based on the amount of dev kits released, as this is a sure sign that the launch is getting close. So if you haven't already heard, PlayStation 5 dev kits were sent out earlier this year, something that another insider market sellers reported. Now, back in 2012, PlayStation 4 dev kits were sent out, about a year ahead of the console's launch, so there's a strong indication based on that fact alone the PlayStation 5 is near. But how near is the question? Some other AAA game companies already have openly stated they are gearing up for the next generation. Most recently, CD Projekt Red, who is currently working on Cyberpunk 2077, held a presentation discussing the game a little bit, and in one of the slides they had up on the screen, it was stated that the game would feature rich, true-to-life visuals built on current and next-generation technology, possibly hinting that Cyberpunk 2077 will be a cross-generation title. As most of you know by now, I reported back in January that an inside source at Sony had claimed they had received an early tech demo of the game, so this may make a little more sense if CD Projekt Red is working with Sony to have the game ready for when the PlayStation 5 launches. I have a strange feeling capitalizing on being a cross-generation title will be a major goal for many publishers, as looking to Rockstar Games with Grand Theft Auto 5, that worked out perfectly with the game's lifetime sales sitting at 90 million plus copies sold. Anyway, it doesn't just look like CD Projekt Red is the only company gearing up for the PlayStation 5 and whatever Microsoft has planned next. Bethesda Game Studios has a job listing on their website for a quest designer, which mentions one of the key responsibilities being to design and document stories and quests for future next-generation products. Either way, besides some of the AAA game developers preparing for the next generation, we have also heard some other interesting details about the PlayStation 5, which indicate things are moving ahead fast. Like, most recently, a Sony patent was granted by the United States Patent and Trademark Office, and it reveals that Sony is working on backwards compatibility features for a new system, which is safe to say the PlayStation 5. Being that backwards compatibility has probably been one of the biggest missteps Sony had with the PlayStation 4, which has been one of Microsoft's top selling points for the Xbox One, it looks like they're not going to make that mistake again. We also have heard from a few gaming analysts which appear to have differing perspectives on when this console will will arrive. Macquarie Capital Securities analyst Damian Thong, who does have a good track record on predictions, being the individual to predict the PlayStation 4 Pro and PlayStation 4 Slim, believes that the PlayStation 5 is coming before 2018 ends, specifically saying to the Wall Street Journal that he expects Sony to release its next generation PlayStation by the second half of 2018. Now, Michael Pachter, who's a gaming analyst for Wedbush Securities, does not believe that, saying, "My expectation that is that it's not coming out in 2018, that it's a 2019 or 2020, but probably 2019. Sony is probably timing it better because they are going to bring out a 4K capable device when the 4K TV market reaches 50% in the USA and 35% in the rest of the world." I will say hearing a 2018 release date does not surprise me, because for the last few weeks I've been hearing rumors of that. I personally do not understand the rush to get a new console out the door so fast, and a year ago I was still thinking maybe fall 2020 at the earliest, but now I think it's coming before 2019 ends for sure. I still don't believe 2018, but the industry's biggest events of the year are only a few months away, and maybe Sony surprises everyone with a teaser trailer of the PlayStation 5. Now, I know a lot of people are surprised by any and all of this news, but it at least seems that the industry was expecting this current generation to not last very long. Electronic Arts' executive vice president in charge of Worldwide Studios, Patrick Soderlund, in an interview just about 4 years ago admitted that the last generation went on for longer than EA would have preferred, and he expected the current consoles of the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 to have a life cycle of around 5 to 6 years. The only time Sony has addressed the future and next console after the PlayStation 4 came at E3 2017, where President and CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment America and Chairman of SIE Worldwide Studios, Sean Layden, was asked directly when would the PlayStation 5 come about, and he simply answered that it would probably be some time. So again, these next few months are going to be interesting, because if the PlayStation 5 is this close, then at E3 2018 we should hear some big news from Sony. My biggest problem with these rumors and leaks is that a release in 2018 is something that many consumers are clearly not going to like, because I'll be honest, putting $500 on a new console is not an easy decision for everybody. Sony obviously will have to convince players to make the jump from the PlayStation 4 to the PlayStation 5. Can they do that in 2018? I don't know. Can they do that in 2019? Again, I just don't know. It really just depends how powerful this console is, the features it includes like backwards compatibility, the price, and the reason. But for now, like most of you, I have my doubts on a 2018 release. And with the PlayStation 4 sales still very strong, I really don't see the reason yet, unless Sony really wants a more powerful console where they feel they have something unique that they want to bring to the market now. Sony has previously stated that they cannot ignore the Nintendo Switch, so honestly at this point I don't expect anything like the PS Vita. I've stated that in the past, but I am interested in knowing what Sony is preparing to show us consumers. We live in a time where new versions of hardware come so soon. Even the Xbox One X and PlayStation 4 Pro are impressive, as they're still in this same generation. At the end of the day, I still have the same belief that I always have, and it's that what matters most is the games. I've been hearing rumors from some contacts I have that many games launching in 2019 and beyond will be cross-generation. This includes Beyond Good and Evil 2, Anthem, Death Stranding, and some of Sony's first-party games, The Last of Us Part 2, Days Gone, and Ghost of Tsushima. Additionally, I've also heard that Sony has been working with Electronic Arts, Ubisoft, and other outside game companies, with some of them like CD Projekt Red providing tech demos of certain upcoming games that will eventually run on the PlayStation 5. I still don't know what the major leap forward will be for the next generation, but I think we can all agree that when the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 arrived in 2013, it was time. Right now, with both of those consoles about 5 years later, I just don't know if it is time. I certainly feel that the original PS4 and Xbox One have their limits, but is that enough to justify launching a new generation this early? Also, another question that comes to mind is what happens with the current library of PlayStation 4 games if Sony were to have a more smooth transition by allowing players to not have to buy a remastered version and instead just use their old PS4 discs? That could be huge, and maybe including an update at launch for the PlayStation 5 giving better visuals and smoother gameplay for these existing PlayStation 4 games could be a reason reason to justify the move. But there are a lot of questions regarding Sony's next console, and if it's coming this soon, I have to believe something special is coming. Something that can separate them from Microsoft and Nintendo. So yes, this recent leak from semiaccurate.com does raise many eyebrows and questions. And I do think for the most part it is accurate. The author's comment about 2018 is still something I find hard to believe, but I think most of us, no matter what, have faith that Sony knows what they are doing, and whenever the PlayStation 5 does arrive, whether that's 2018, 2019, or even 2020 or beyond, Sony will have good reason for why the console is needed, or why consumers will want it. Anyway guys, what do you make of the buzz surrounding Sony's next generation console, the PlayStation 5? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, but thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video or found any informative value, and consider subscribing for more videos like this, and I'll see you later.